This conference will now be recorded.
Rise for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everyone. Tuesday, January 3rd, at the Bishop County Courthouse for Supervisor Board meeting. We have an agenda. Everybody's had a chance to read the agenda. We need a motion and a second to approve the. Move to approve. Jim's made a motion to approve. I'll second it. Marcus seconded it. Aye. Opposed? Okay, moving on. Item 2, approve the minutes of the December 27th. Everyone's had a chance to look those over if there's any corrections.
I'll move to approve minutes.
Okay. Todd's made a motion to approve the minute. A second. Second. Jim has. Second. Any further discussion on this?
Roll call. Jim?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Mark?
Item 3, it says approve board chair and vice chair. This time we need to determine who the chair and vice chair are for next year.
I'll move to have Wary be the chair.
We have a motion for Jim Weary to be the chair. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
All right, second. Any further discussion on this?
Roll call. Todd?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Aye. Jim?
Aye. How about the vice chair then? We should have done it at the same time.
I can move Todd to be the vice chair.
Okay.
I'll second that.
All right. Got a motion and a second for to be the vice chair. Any further discussion on this?
Roll call. Todd?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Sydney? Aye. Mike?
Aye.
Mark?
Okay. Okay. Now we change chairs, correct?
Yes.
I don't know if you have to change chairs.
No,
We'll not change. We'll just
No.
stay here then. Okay.
In the gavel.
All right. Oh,
Caller, I have a caller 1 that isn't muted. We're getting a lot of noise from you. I wonder if you could mute your phone. I don't know if you're on a phone or what, if you could mute that, we'd appreciate that. Approve office days for supervisors. Currently we have Wary on Monday, Tuesday is Hendrickson, Wednesday is Harto, small, it used to be on Wednesdays. Thursday is Fryan, and Friday is Mayor. Do you want to continue with that?
I'll
Or?
keep my Tuesdays.
I'll keep on. Fine.
I'm okay with Thursdays.
You're good?
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll keep that as is. We need a motion and a second for that.
Make a motion to keep days.
Hendrickson makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mayor seconds. Any further discussion?
Roll call. Mark?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Sydney? Aye. Jim?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Okay, item 5, approve committee and board appointments. So these are the committees that we originally agreed upon, and then Sydney received the stuff that Steve had. So there's a couple of corrections we do need to make on there. One would be, it's on the first page about the 4th one down, Board of Supervisors appointed to NIACOG board. The Rick Wohnsteiner is no longer there, so we need to write in Brock Waters. He's the city administrator for Osage. And then,
The one above that.
One above that,
Yeah.
it's got Smalley's name in there.
correct, yeah, that needs to be done too. So
What was that name of that guy?
Brock Waters, first name is spelled Brock. Last name is Waters.
Okay, thank you.
I think that's all I saw on that. So, Any comments on the board as far as how this is wrote? Are we happy or changes or?
I'll keep mine.
Yeah, I think easier just to stay where you're at.
I was very interested in Board of Health.
Okay. That's Mike's, so that's what you two feel about that?
I have no problem with what Steve has. But one of the main reasons why I wanted to be on supervisors to do one of the Board of Health.
I guess I've been there, so I'll just stay there for now. Yeah.
So, do you vote on something like this, or you just
We
stay
do.
because you stay?
We do vote, let's see. Yeah, we do vote as far as, the meetings that we attend. So I guess it would be if you do want to reach an agreement as far as to switch or not, but then we would just vote on it.
If you're already established, it'd probably be easy to keep your same. What's up, Mike? I guess he's the one that would.
Yeah, some of those two.
I've been going to it, so.
Pardon me, Mike?
I'm just fine with staying with all my committees that I'm on.
Okay. So,
Just thought of fresh eyes, fresh look, so.
okay, well, so is there a motion to continue with the meetings as far as the way they are printed here?
I'll make a motion to keep the meetings the same.
Henderson makes the motion, is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mayor seconds, any further discussion?
Roll call, Sydney?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Mark?
And these can be changed at a later date too, if for some reason somebody wants to rethink something or whatever, not necessarily with that one, but amendment, so.
Brad, I'll look through and see what you got. I don't know. Well, we'll just go on, I guess, for now.
Yeah, okay, all right. Item 6, approve county auditor to issue warrants. And Rachel has put in, as far as our sheet, how to make the motion for a lot of these, and so we'll just pretty much, I'll entertain a motion to approve county auditor to issue warrants. Is there a motion for that?
I'll make a motion for that.
You want to read that, please?
Motion to authorize the county auditor to issue warrants in payment of all county payroll, Iowa Public Employees Retirement, Social Security, health insurance, and approved claims.
Mayor makes the motion, is there a second?
I'll second.
Brian seconds, any further discussion?
Roll call, Mike?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Sydney?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye. Item 7, designate official county newspapers.
I'll make a motion to designate the City Enterprise and Mitchell County Press News as official newspaper for Mitchell County for the 2023 Mitchell Enterprise Media Group. Publisher of the Enterprise Journal as an agent to serve notice of expiration of right of redemption and to be legal publication when one publication is over.
Hendrickson has made a motion, is there a second?
I have a question. Can I ask a question? Why is there 2 newspapers instead of 1?
That's what the Iowa code says.
Oh, you have to have 2 newspapers? Oh, okay. It says when one publication is required, that's what I did.
We need a second really before we start talking.
All right.
Second? Okay, any further discussion?
Yeah, I just wondered, it's, because it says the legal publication when one publication is required, and then we have 2.
There may be certain reports that only have to be published to one paper,
Okay.
but like all of the board proceedings and public hearings, that gets published in 2 newspapers.
Okay, just a question. Okay.
Any other discussion?
Roll call, Jim?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Sydney?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Item 8, designate county engineer to execute the certificate of completion. Is there a motion?
I'll move to make a motion to designate Rich Brown, the Mitchell County Engineer, to be authorized and empowered on behalf of the Board of Supervisors to execute certification of completion of work and final acceptance thereof in accordance with plans and specifications, therefore in connection with all farm to market construction projects in the county.
Brian's made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Barto seconds. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Mike,
Aye.
Mark,
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye. Item 9, designate maximum rates to be reimbursed to county employees. Is there a motion for that?
There's any changes? or
Yeah,
just
we'll
the
need to-
mileage?
Thank you for catching that. There's the mileage rate is 0.655 now, not what's printed there.
Okay.
So if you make the motion, you'll have to include the 0.655.
I'll make a motion to designate the maximum rates that are allowed to be reimbursed to county employees for meeting expenses, room, actual reasonable cost, the total per day of meals not to exceed $30, and mileage reimbursement at the federal rate of 0.655 per mile. Individual meals may exceed the amount allowed if the price includes meeting room expenses and shall be so indicated on the receipt. No meals will be reimbursed without a receipt. Appointments of supervisors to various boards shall constitute approval for necessary expenses at those board meetings incurred throughout the calendar year of 2023. County supervisors using a personal cell phone to conduct county business may receive a monthly stipend of $30 for partial monthly billing costs.
Okay. Mayor's made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Anderson seconds. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Todd.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Item 10, appoint Mitchell County Medical Examiner. Is there a motion for this?
I'll move to make a motion to appoint Dr. Kelly Ross, the Mitchell County Medical Examiner for 2023 with Dr. Jeff Nastrom, Dr. Benson Hargens, and Dr. Megan Peterson as deputies, and Kevin Crow and Jessica Clayton as EMIs, with the coroner's fee to be $100 plus mileage at the current county rate.
Is there a second?
I will second that.
Mayor seconds. Further discussion? I do have a question. Todd said EMIs, it's MEIs. What does MEI stand for?
Medical examiner.
Investigator.
Investigator.
Investigator, okay. All right. So any further discussion other than what I had a question about?
Roll call, Mark.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Okay, item 11, approve assurances to the Iowa Department of Transportation. Can I get a motion for that? I can make the motion. So I move to provide the following assurances to the Iowa Department of Transportation according to provisions of the 1970 Uniform Relocation Assistance and Land Acquisition Policies Act. Number 1, it is the policy of Mitchell County to acquire right-of-way in accordance with Title III of said 1970 Act as amended by the Title IV and applicable state laws. Number 2, it is the policy of Mitchell County to provide relocation assistance benefits in accordance with Title II of said 1970 Act as amended by Title IV and applicable state laws. Number 3, Mitchell County will contact the Iowa Department of Transportation for assistance as needed to assure compliance with applicable laws, which are summarized in the instructions entitled Uniform Manual Real Property Acquisition and Relocations Assistance. That's the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Brian seconds. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Sydney?
Aye.
Mark?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Todd?
Aye.
Mike?
Aye.
Item 12, establish rate for fence removal and crop damage.
I have a question on that. How many times is there crop damage? Is there like $150 per acre? Don't even cover the seed, you know? I mean, I don't know. Does it happen very often?
Not for us.
Not for us. When would it, that'd be probably the only
It would only
situation.
happen if we were gonna do a large project where we needed 12. Really, I don't know when we would ever need it unless we would do temporary easements, which we haven't done. I mean, $150, that's not a lot of money.
No, no farmer would be happy with that. I mean,
No, you guys have
they pay
to,
more rent than that, you know?
you guys can change that value.
There's been rare occasions where somebody's made a bad decision and not stopped for us.
And went through the,
And they go out in the field and we don't let them go, so we go to the field too and we've done some damage. It's very rare that that could occur.
I just feel we should
Something to
raise,
think about.
we should raise that if, can we do that at this point, or do we have to do a special?
We could raise it when that occurs,
Yeah,
because I'm sure whatever you put down is not gonna be happy with the farmer. Or
I
like,
mean, if we did change it, I'd want to have some research as far as to have an idea of what the number we think would be, rather than just pick the number.
yeah.
come to agreement at the time.
But do you do that, or do you go by what your ordinance says?
Well, if it's a pasture.
Aaron? Yeah, if it's a pasture, but that ain't crop damage. I'm talking, if somebody goes driving through the cornfield and,
That's still crop damage in the
Yep.
pasture because that's hay for you. No.
well, yeah.
It could be an insurance issue too, and I don't know where those differences between the two, when you pay or whether your insurance pays, but maybe the county attorney can shed some light on that.
And I mean, I don't. Establishing a rate, I think is fine. I mean, I don't think you have to. I mean, because, I mean, you have to compensate. I don't mean
Yeah,
that.
yeah, right, correct.
But I don't think it's unreasonable. I mean, you can set a base rate, I guess, which would be fine, like a minimum. But I mean, I'm not, if it were me, and I were a farmer, I might be like, okay, well, this $150 doesn't really cut it this time. My damage might be worse, I mean, if it happens 3 or 4 times, not everybody's damage is gonna be the same, so I guess what I'm saying is, you can set your rate, which is just fine, but ultimately, let's say I'm a farmer or a landowner, and I have damage. To be perfectly frank, I don't know that if I'm the landowner and I've suffered damage and I'm not happy with what I'm being paid, I can probably take legal action against the county anyway if I want to, right?
Right.
So as a practical matter, you can set it at $1, you can set it at $1,000. But if I'm the property owner, I don't feel like I've been treated fairly, then I can take legal action against the county anyway, unless there be some kind of a resolution. As far as question between insurance and the county, now typically, a lot of this stuff's gonna differ on what the insurance policy of the landowner says, okay? I deal with insurance law quite a bit. One of the things I know is that there's not always any set thing. You always start with policy. Generally speaking, though, what's gonna happen is the damaged person, they're probably gonna get paid by their insurance company. Then the insurance company then has the right to be reimbursed by the county or to pursue legal action against the county. Subrogation is what that is. So that's kind of, I guess the long way of saying it is, if you want to set a base rate, great. If you don't, and address it on an individual case, I don't know why you couldn't do that. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess I'd say, I suppose maybe guess maybe if you set a base rate, at least then there's a minimum the person knows they're gonna get, so there doesn't have to be any maybe kind of proceedings or anything to at least get that amount.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, you take an acre of corn at 200 bushels an acre at $6 a bushel is $1,200 an acre. You know? That's, I mean, 150 is nothing compared to what.
So this would be a base rate, and then if they're not happy, they can come back and say, we don't like your rate, we want more money.
Yes.
So this would be a base rate.
I just wondered, you know, it's not a small number for, in today's world.
Yeah, it's not very big. I mean, I'm not an expert, but, value's not very high.
So,
So is there a motion for,
you have a question?
for this?
Well, as
Or,
a
oh, I guess I
farmer,
meant to.
as a farmer, I can tell you that, you know, rental rates have gone way up and so have their expenses. So it's not only the rental rate that they've lost, but they've also lost all the expenses they put into that crop, because they're not gonna get anything back. And nowadays, there are drones available, you know, too, that can kind of fly and see how much damage is done and give you per acre damage and go from there.
I mean, that's a good point.
Is there a motion to approve the established rate for fence removal and crop damage?
Make a motion, to establish a rate of 1.9 times the assessed valuation and acquisition of right of way for local road projects and damages for fence removal at the rate of $9 per rod of woven fence and $7 per rod of barbed wire, plus $150 crop damage amount.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Brian seconds. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Mike.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Sydney.
Item 13, approve the 2023 Mitchell County dues and or contributions. So on your sheet, there's some numbers that are not correct. I can pass this around. I found this on my desk this week. Everybody have it? Okay.
I think.
So to clarify it on the NICOG dues, it needs to be 0.95 per capita. For the Region 2 transit assessment, it needs to be $1.93 per capita. The NCRERC dues need to be 0.86 per capita. And then you have the dollar amounts off to the right. NICOG is 4,216. Region 2 transit is 20,390.45. North Central Emergency Response Commission, that's what that acronym stands for, is 9,085.90. So if we read the motion, you'll need to have those numbers. Any questions?
9,085 what?
9,085.90.
I'll make a motion to approve the 2023 Mitchell County dues and or contributions to the following organizations for budget purposes. NICOG dues, 0.95 per capita, rural only, for a total of $4,216.10. Region 2 transit assessment at $1.93 for a total of $20,390.45. NCRERC dues at 86 cents per capita, total of $9,085.90.
Mayor's made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Marco seconds. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Mark.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Item 14, appoint to the Mitchell County Land Compensation Commission for 2023. Entertain a motion for that.
I'll make a motion To appoint Mitchell County Land Compensation Commission for 2023, the following licensed real estate brokers: Dale Blakestead, Lisa Pollard, Clarence Cruzy, Bob Mueller, Kevin Colbert, Phil Colbert, Janine Colbert. Owner operator of agricultural property: Paul Grove, Russ Beeson, Curtis Terhart, Deanna Eastman, Jack Edgington, Dean Tice, Rodney Koontz, Pete Tomey, Carl Tice. Owner of city or town property: Tom Hurd, Richard Brown, Jerry Dunley, Eldine Boren, Kevin Paulsig, Gordon Anderson. Persons having knowledge of property values: Scott Brando, Rodney Patterson, Jake Canings, Bill Denner, Dean Wright, and Tim Schultz.
Brian's made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mayor seconds. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Todd,
Aye.
Jim,
Aye.
Sydney,
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Mark.
Okay. Do that. County Attorney General discussion.
I won't take too long here. I was supposed to have a trial over in Cresco starting tomorrow that was gonna take some of my time. That got continued. Not my choice. I didn't like it. I wasn't in favor of it, but it did. So that frees up some time. But I can get back to doing various other things. But the only reason I bring that up is just another example. And sometimes I know how frustrating it is, and you guys are gonna experience it too when you hear me talk about certain cases. Continue getting bumped out, and how frustrating it is. Nobody feels that more than I do. It's just a big letdown. You know what I mean? It's a big, big, big letdown. So on that note, later this month, we have that Kephart case set to go. Okay. Not aware of anything that would get in the way of it. But the attorneys in the case sometimes be the last to know. I do know, I don't know that there's a judge assigned to it yet, because I believe the judge that was going to be assigned has indicated there might be a possible conflict of interest because the judge knows not any of the party of the case, but has some affiliation with, well, it's been discussed about it being given to the Catholic Church, right? Well, the judge that was going to preside over it has some, which I didn't know this until, well, I guess I've known it a couple months or whatever, but that presiding judge has a connection to that parish. And he thought, well, that it might look a little bad if I'm presiding, and then all of a sudden I say, yeah, Mitchell County, you win. So bottom line is there'd probably be another judge assigned. I did ask the court administrator. I said, is this anything that's going to delay a trial or anything, or you just slide another judge in? And the court administrator said that the plan was to slide another judge in, which is what I'm kind of hoping for, but I've not seen an assignment come through with the judge, but I wouldn't necessarily. It might just be that we show up that day and whatever judge is available we get. So just bring that up.
What day is that scheduled for?
What's that?
What day is that scheduled for?
Oh,
Do you know? Well,
I do. I'll check my phone here. Probably should have known that before I came up here. I'm not going to talk about it.
that's okay.
So it is scheduled for Wednesday, the 25th. It's just set for one day. Could possibly go into more, but I doubt it. Okay. And then what else I was going to say is on Sunday the 15th, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I can't read anything. I'm supposed to wear glasses, but it's like Sunday the 15th, Monday the 16th, Tuesday the 17th, Wednesday the 18th. I'm going to what I guess is affectionately called County Attorney Boot Camp down in Des Moines. They offer that class once every 4 years, usually to coincide with the county attorney election, right? All county attorneys are elected at the same time, same year. And so the January after the election, they put this on that is supposed to be, well, it's designed not just for new county attorneys, all county attorneys can go, but they time it that way for new county attorneys to have some kind of training so they're not going in blind, right? Well, I don't feel like I'm doing that because I've done this last year and I've been assistant county attorney for 25 years before that. But there are certain aspects of county law, municipal law, I'd kind of like a refresher on, mostly on the civil side, not much on the criminal side because I don't want to say I got that nailed down. You never do, but I'm pretty much on top of that. So I'm hoping they'll cover a lot of municipal and civil stuff. I mean, I feel like I'm on top of that too, but it's just, for a long time, I did more of this side than this side. Now I'm kind of doing it. So anyway, those few days I'll be, you'd be able to get a hold of me easy enough, but I'll be gone that Sunday through Wednesday. I guess that's about it. I have a sentencing upstairs. I think it's at 10 o'clock. So if I shouldn't have to leave much before that in case if I get a text from somebody that says, oh, we need you up here to talk about something. So if you see me skate out of here, that's why. That's about it.
I kept our case. Can you go, anybody go up to that?
Yep. It's public.
Do they have a time set for that?
I'm assuming it's 9. That's when everything is. I just want to.
Okay.
Yeah, it says 9 a.m. That's pretty typical.
All right.
I have a question on the county handbook. It was the last year we redid our handbook and made some changes and added 5 days of family sick leave and that. Doesn't that preside over all the county employees?
Well, probably not. And I know this always gets to be kind of an issue. So effectively, and this I know, I mean, I've dealt with this enough. You take like the county attorney's office, the auditor's office, the treasurer's office, recorder's office. They're all independently elected. The county handbook probably isn't in control. It's probably not going to control much of people in that department, right? I'm not saying it won't at all, but, and I'm just using an example, if somebody in the auditor's office said, hey, I'm taking this time off, I got to be gone. The county handbook's not really going to govern that. It's also going to be true that the county handbook is probably not going to govern that much with the Board of Health Department, or the Conservation Department. Where the county handbook does apply is, and it also, for example, we're talking about the Sheriff's Department, right? The Sheriff's Department, I'm not going to speak for the sheriff here, but I would suspect the sheriff is going to look and say, I'm independently elected. I run my own office and I got my own handbook and I'm going to follow that. I don't know if I can say that or not, but saying he could. Where the county handbook applies is on those other areas, right? Where you're dealing with like secondary roads, other employees that aren't a part of any elected department, your county handbook's probably going to apply, or can. I know from before I did, Mark Walk always said he thought it was a waste of time for anybody to have a handbook. If you know him very well, you may have heard him say that before. I don't quite agree with that. In the private sector, well, in any sector, it's probably good to have a handbook. What you don't want it to be is you don't want your handbook to be a contract. So you gotta word it appropriately and make damn sure that it's not construed as a contract, right? Because you don't usually want that to be a contract, because I may want to terminate somebody and the handbook may have this procedure and I may not want to follow that procedure. I may think it's urgent enough that I need to take action now. I don't want some handbook as an employer, I don't want some handbook tied in my hands, say this is what I gotta do. So I think when Mark always said he didn't like handbooks, that's kind of what he had in mind. I understand that. I'm more of the opinion, no, it's good to have a handbook, but you don't want that handbook to be a contract. If you're an employer, you probably don't want that to be, you probably do not want that to be a contract. And sometimes they can be perceived as a contract. Anyway, so it's great to have a handbook. You don't want the handbook to be a contract, and the handbook for the county is going to govern certain employees, but it's probably not going to govern people in certain departments. Does that make sense? I mean, it would be, I don't know, it'd be an example like, when Walk was county attorney, if he said, I'm going on vacation, he's going on vacation. Somebody might say, well, we don't like that. That's the way it goes. So it's always, this division of county responsibilities is always an issue, I think, in probably every night of the 99 counties in the state of Iowa and probably everywhere else too. It's the division of power. And people are always somewhat surprised. I'll bring up Mark Walk again, just because I use him as an example. I think he used to have a handout that he gave to people. One of the things that it said on it, and I've got a copy of it, I just haven't given it out. He gave it to me. He said, you ought to give this to the new supervisor. I haven't. Maybe I should. One of the things he always put at the top is that it's always important to remember as a supervisor, you don't have nearly as much power as you think you do. And that's just true for all of us, every one of us. It's because it's messy and it's all divided up on purpose. The government doesn't want anybody to have too much control over anything. I don't know if that's right or not. That's the way it works.
City received an organizational flow chart. So
okay. I've got my own organizational flow chart. Yeah, so if you've got one, that's good. But anyway, I don't know if that. I think that answers the question. I don't know if it's the answer people want to hear. But,
any other questions? So it's a guide.
Handbook?
The handbook, kind of a guide.
Better be. I mean, and that's in any I guess I shouldn't say that. Here's, from an employer's perspective, I'm not going to say this is always. It probably started about 30 years ago, before I was even in law school. Probably about 2 or 3 years before I started law school. So when I started law school, this was a big topic. Over the years, it's kind of ebbed and flowed. You never used to hear much about a handbook being construed as a contract, right? Everybody just said it's a handbook, it's not a contract. Well, it's probably about 30 years ago, like I said. I don't remember the name of the case, but maybe it was against some, I'm not even going to say who the parties were, but where somebody made the argument and said, okay, this handbook's a contract. It's a unilateral contract. You're making an offer to me, and when I go to work for you, I'm accepting the terms of this handbook. So as an employee, you can't do anything to me other than what it says in this handbook. It's a little bit of a stretch, but there were some courts that adopted that and said, yeah, if you're not careful, your handbook becomes a contract. So then to counteract that, they said, well, what you can do is you can put language in your handbook that makes it very, very clear that it's not a contract. This big, bold, underlined letters in the front of a handbook, typically it'll say, this is not to be construed as a contract, it's only a guide, blah, blah, blah. Look, in your handbook's probably got that language in there. I don't know that it does, I haven't seen it for a while. It probably does have that language in there, precisely so it's not construed as a contract. It doesn't necessarily keep it from being construed as a contract, because in certain circumstances it still might be. But generally speaking, if you talk to the human resources lawyers in Des Moines, at those bigger firms that advise a lot of municipal governments, they're gonna tell you, oh, we've got to have a handbook for everything. Of course, they've got an interest in doing it because they make money off the draft. Say anything bad, that's kind of the way it is. As a practical matter, most people like me who actually argue cases in court and deal with it on the front usually say, don't get too carried with your handbook. It might look impressive as hell, but don't get too carried away with it.
I think that answers the question.
Sounds like we just wasted some money.
No, I don't know. I mean, it's not waste. Who did it?
Renee Von Brockton or whatever.
Who did?
Renee Von Bokern, she's the one that helps with like the union paperwork and all that. And without having it in front of me, we didn't get charged much.
I gotta
because
say,
there
I
wasn't
don't-
hardly any changes.
I don't know how much it costs. I don't know how much it costs to do that.
Well, there's some things added in, like family leave time, under sick leave and stuff. I mean, it helped the employees. I mean, it was a benefit.
And some of that stuff's good. Now, some of that stuff's gonna be, is gonna be governed by the law, whether it's in a handbook or not. Right?
Well, that ain't, there's no law, you have to get family medical leave. I mean, it wasn't in there before, but.
Right, like Family Medical Leave Act, things like that, that's governed by the law, so whether it's in your handbook or not, doesn't really matter. I mean, it might be good for an employee because it might advise them of certain rights they may not otherwise know that they have. But the fact that somebody passes a handbook and it doesn't have anything about family medical leave doesn't mean anything because the law is gonna govern. It's kind of like I was saying the other day, a true example. I remember I was dealing with a situation years ago where some guys got this bright idea that it wasn't around here, but I'm familiar with it. So I was talking to them. They were going to pass this policy where they thought they somehow got around dealing with the Fourth Amendment of the United States Constitution. One of these guys was an attorney. And I'm kind of like, you not ever go to law school? Do you quite know that doesn't quite work that way? You know, we don't get to pass our laws that say the Constitution doesn't apply. So it's kind of the same here. Your handbook, you can't really out-end your way around the law because the law is going to apply anyway. That's why, I mean, to be honest with you, I think if like Mark Walker here now, I'm going to speak for him. I've heard him say this. He's out of town right now, but we used to have these conversations. He was always kind of like, I don't like these handbooks. They're nothing but trouble. I always push back a little bit against them and say, I wouldn't go that far because they can, quote unquote, save your ass once in a while. You just don't want it to be a contract.
I guess I'd leave it that it's a guide that the board of supervisors put together, and we would think or would like other elected officials and other autonomous boards to look at it and maybe honor it because we felt it was something that would work best for the entire county. I don't believe all departments are the same. That's not what I said. Does not mean all departments are the same. But you do have to have something down in print as far as this is kind of how we do things in this situation. This is how we do things in this situation.
That's how you, that's what it is. This is typically how we do it. I mean, that's what a handbook is.
Any other discussion, thoughts?
I'll just note that if people do switch or they have their own rules, like the Board of Health, when they pass things, they send us a copy, so we put that in our handbook, so we know how to treat those employees differently if there is such thing.
When that happens, you let the board know, so we.
Yeah, I can send you guys copies.
Yeah, that'd be good. That way we kind of have an idea what's going on with some of that stuff too.
Mhm.
We should know what's going on with that stuff, not that we have control over everything, but we should know what's going on.
Mhm.
Yeah. Anything else? Thank you. Sheriff.
Morning, everyone. Good
Morning.
Welcome to the board, Sydney. Here's my contact information. So I don't have yours, so if you shoot me an email, then I will have. You can post it in the future on things. Just a couple of things. I did purchase a truck last week, not from Carl Chevrolet. They couldn't fulfill our agreement. So I bought a pickup from Billion Chevrolet in Iowa City. Wasn't my first choice, wasn't my second choice, but it seemed to be maybe my only choice. It is a Chevrolet half-ton pickup, 4-door crew cab. It's black, it's not white. We'll put the sheriff's tags on it and put all the emergency lighting in it. It'll be run as a patrol vehicle. May or may not have graphics on it. I'm not sure if we're gonna put graphics on it. Yeah, he'll run it as an unmarked. Or it's in the middle of the night, so maybe that's appropriate. Black truck in the middle of the night, but I did get one. It was more money than I wanted to spend. It was $46,600 and, $48,600 at $45,000 budgeted. So that line item will be over, but my budget as a whole is still good. So maybe that's what we're gonna have to pay in the future more than what I had planned because of the environment we're in. I'm not sure, but so you'll see that come across. The purchase of that truck from Billion in Iowa City. It's in Sally Port. You're welcome to come and check it out if you like.
Is your other one still on order then, or did you cancel the other one?
23 is still on order.
Still on order, yeah.
And I want to do business with Carl Chevrolet. It's just simple because they do our upfitting and our lights for us. Dennis Rudolph, the gentleman I deal with in fleet vehicles, said early on my 23 might be in before I'd ever see a 22. So that could come closer to spring, March, April, May, that may show up. We won't pay for anything until the new budget year. But sometimes those trucks come in and they sit down there for a couple of months. So yeah, that's still on order.
Okay.
And then I'll probably have to order a 24 or at least speak for one soon so that we make sure we get on the list for 24. We keep a rotation. So Sydney, just for your knowledge, we rotate vehicles out every 6 years. So essentially we get a new vehicle each year, but it's 6, now 7 with the 7th person on the office. So we run them 7 years. And typically they get 120 to 150,000 miles on, depending on the deputy. And then some of the more recent ones have been going to county roads or another county department. So kind of saves them some money. They get a vehicle, they're still pretty good, they're well maintained. We have on occasion then also taken sealed bids on them. Typically we get about middle of the road county. So we'll buy a pickup. In a typical year, we'll buy a Chevy pickup from Carl Chevrolet, and it's probably going to come in at about $43,000 or $44,000. That truck probably lists for about $55,000, so we get around $10,000 bid assistance, and then we get about 15-ish, $13,000 to $15,000 back on it when we sell it. So there's say $23,000 on a $43,000 truck that we get bid assistance on. So we run it 7 years. For the $20-some thousand it costs plus fuel and maintenance. So it pencils out pretty well. The old cars we used to run the Crown Vics, we'd get $500 for them when we were done. So this works out much better. I'm just going to say this and leave it at that. If you want to come to my office for more information later, you can, but I did terminate an employee right after Christmas. And let's see, the other item we need to discuss with Aaron while he's here is a contract for the city of Riceville. So Sal Gomez contacted me on Thursday last week. They wanted a 30-day extension of our contract for the Mitchell County side of Riceville because they do not have one in place with Howard County currently to cover the whole city. So I emailed Mike. I emailed Jim and Aaron Thursday afternoon. Essentially, they gave us Friday to do something. Well, we can't because this is a decision the board has to make. I'm going to cover the calls in Riceville, but to meet the letter of the law, they have to have something in place. So it's up to you guys if you want that in place for 30 days.
So it'd be 30 days, it'd be end of this month, or it'd be 30 days from today.
No, I think the end of the month, January 31st.
What are they gonna do after that?
Well,
Come back for another 30 days?
I don't know, Mark. Their hope is they can get something in place with Howard County in that time frame that covers the whole city. But I don't know. They meet once a month.
They were with Howard County and got mad at them and then.
Yes. That goes back to why I think they need their own policeman. We were there 3 times on Saturday, Sunday, for motor vehicle crashes, hit and runs, bar issue. They need their own policeman, but I guess that's not up to me. So if we want to do an extension, what that looks like, if you have those contracts, if you decide that that's what you want to do, I'll get a hold of Sal Gomez, he's Mayor Pro Tem. Chair, I think, signs it. And we'll put it in place. But it's totally up to you guys.
You're okay with doing that, correct? Yes.
Yes.
Although you don't want to just keep piecemeal this month by month, by month, by month.
I'd rather not.
Yeah, I don't, yeah.
I think their citizens deserve more than what they're getting currently.
Correct, yeah.
So,
We're basically gonna, if we do this, we're just being nice. We're saying, yeah, we'll still try to help you out here, but
allows them to meet the requirement of the law. Because currently, if somebody complains, they're in violation.
Yeah.
They
And
don't have anything in place.
they pay a fee for your services, correct?
1/12 of whatever our per capita would be.
Do we need to increase that in?
Totally your call. Totally up to you guys if you want to increase it. And
You feel
then that affects other contracts too. And so maybe that's something you want to discuss between now and when those contracts get sent out for payment. And we usually send them right at the end of June or the 1st of July. Because they're on a fiscal year.
Stacyville has one, I assume, right?
Yes, there's 6 or 7 contracts that we currently
Oh,
have.
there is that many.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, with higher fuel and everything, maybe it's something we should look at, you know? I mean, when's the last time they've been increased, you know?
Well, if I had a contract, I can
Okay.
tell you, it wasn't that many years
It
ago,
wasn't that many.
2, 3 years ago, 3 maybe, that they made a jump.
Oh, they made it to.
Not a big one, but they increased it.
if we were going to do that, I guess I'd like some input on you as far as what you think a new rate would be if we're gonna do that,
Yeah,
rather than just picking a number.
right,
Mhm.
right. Yeah. Do you feel like now it's covering, the current contracts are sufficient or?
Yeah, I think what the cities will do is if we increase the fees, they'll want to increase the service. And I'm limited, you know, with the staff I got, but it's something we can sure look at. I can get some prices. You know, it's probably going to shock you what other agencies charge these communities, but they probably also provide a little bit more than what we do. But I can get those. There's other sheriff's offices around the state that have contract law enforcement and what they're providing for the fee that they're getting.
Okay.
And you guys can make a decision, you know, between now and July 1st. We wouldn't be able to, I don't think, legally do an increase now with contracts in place. That, like I said, I don't know, it would be something we could put to Aaron, but
Yeah.
something, you know, we can
When
look
they
at
come due,
for
yeah, we could look at it.
next fiscal year.
My thought on some of the smaller towns, just pick Stacyville, pick any one of them, you know, and this is your deal, but it might not take much for you to do the patrolling that you need to do in a smaller community like that. We have 3 towns that have schools. I think they need a law enforcement individual because there's a school there, they're a bigger town, they have the tax base to take care of their own. As far as the little towns, I don't want to gouge them either as far as the services. They don't have a lot of money, so.
It's been going on since we got on board with Riceville and going between Howard and Mitchell, and I think we need to, I would like to see us do the 30-day again, but they need to get something going, and I know it's out of our hands, but I just really don't like the thing of bouncing back and forth, kind of using Howard Mitchell, bouncing back and forth, and, but they have other issues going on over there with the mayor and pro tem and stuff, so I guess I'm okay with adding that 30 days. Is that what you were this month yet? And then we'll readdress it in February.
Yeah, I am okay with the extension till January 31st. That's what they're asking for, and we'll provide that service.
I'll ask for a motion, but when we make the motion, we have to, through January 31st, not 30 days, because we're already, that takes us into February, so whoever makes the motion, it's January 31st. So,
Okay, I'll make that motion to, for Riceville services through January 31st then.
is there a second?
I'll second that.
And if I.
Yep, please, go ahead.
Okay, so we need a signed document, and if so, do you have those?
I probably do. You probably gave them to me before. But I assume everybody else has got one too. If I can't.
I've got Riceville's that we're currently under. So we just need to get that signed probably today, if that's possible, and I'll get it to the mayor pro tem, and it'll be in place.
Yeah.
If you would, email me, but, because
I'll email you what we currently have.
email me what you currently have, because I'm confident I have it. Probably sometimes I'm looking through my file, and sometimes I think something might be the most current thing, and it may not be the most current. So email
I'll
me
send it
what
over.
you have.
I'll send it over.
One of you have my cell phone, so one of you two call me. If I don't answer, leave me a message, and I'll find whoever I need to sign that today, so I'll find you guys.
Okay.
All I had, thank you.
Okay, that's if this passes. We haven't
Right.
voted on it yet, but
Roll call, Mark.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Jim.
Aye.
Ted.
And I just have one other question.
you bet.
The 65.5 cent mileage increase, is that effective January 1st or today?
What is that, Rachel? Did you know?
I would say today, but I don't know. Just because they made the motion today?
Well,
Or does it go back to 2020?
Usually I've always been told it's January 1st.
I think so. I do too.
I think in the past.
I think it's, I mean, you could say it's retroactive to January 1st if you wanted to, but even if you didn't, I think it's gotta be January.
Is that when the feds said that they're taking, that's when it goes into effect for their recommendation? Is that what they?
When I looked it up yesterday, it said 4 days ago that they had posted it, so. Go January 1st.
January 1st, because of that?
Yep.
Yep. All right. All right. Department head discussion. I came this weekend to pick up the packet. I was checking mail in. There's 2 funding requests. I'll get these to you that we'll put on the agenda for next week. One of them has an increase, significant increase, but we'll talk about that. And I should have done this earlier. I want to introduce Sydney Harto. She's our new board member. Should have did that right from the start of the meeting. Sorry, I had the note here now to do it, but welcome, Sydney.
Thank you.
Yep. Let's see. So I got an email from Andrew Van Beek. He's our engineering consultant for the HVAC system. And, excuse me. He sent a email to, excuse me, sorry. He sent an email to Randy, that's the contractor, and the fire marshal finally did make a recommendation, or not a recommendation, this is what he's gonna require. And we need to add fire smoke dampeners for the corridor, and Andrew attached supplemental drawings to Randy. He says, I figured the best way to install them while minimizing modifications to the chase would be to access the fire smoke dampeners from the other side of the security wall. Please let me know if you have any questions or suggestions. When I sent him an email back in regards to the sprinkler system, part of the jail, we're gonna put a air handling unit in the attic. And there's been a question if we need to have a sprinkler system in that location because there's no boiler for that air handling unit. We don't want to put a sprinkler system in there because it'd be expensive. So the answer that came back is the fire marshal did not have any comments regarding the lack of sprinklers in the attic. His biggest concern was ensuring that the corridors were protected from the potential passage of smoke. This change does exactly that. We may have to adjust the plan slightly depending on what Randy finds in the existing chases on the secured side and how much room he has to install fire smoke dampeners for the 3 that serve the secured corridor. So long story short, there probably will be a change order in regards to doing this work. But the contractor has to look at it first. No, nothing to decide now. This is just department head discussion.
You know, when they talked about them junction boxes they had to move, would they?
Nothing's been said about that yet.
Something
No.
like that. Okay. I just wondered.
So I'm sure we'll be having to pay for that. So just a heads up, I wouldn't be surprised about that. Seems like I had something else, but I don't have it down. I don't remember what it was, so that's all I have for department head discussion. Anything else from anybody else?
Just so Rachel knows, we're trying to make the 10 o'clock work for this holiday plow. That's brand. It's not easy. Get the payroll fees and.
Okay. Anything else? Hearing nothing. County engineer update.
Morning. Our final plans for the 105 bridge have been submitted. You guys signed the agreement last week. That was an agreement just to use our bridge funding. There was a question on 80/20. Used to be when we had swap, our bridge funding covered 100%. It wasn't federal money. Now we're into the federal money again, so it's 80% federal. It's still gonna be 20% either farm market or swap bridge money. It's really confusing. I don't want to try to explain it to you, but for now, we're using our bridge funding to pay for those projects. So now with this $900,000 contract, I'm gonna have to adjust our program a little bit for what bridges are in the queue for repair next. So, and also next week then, I'm gonna try to bring within next week or 2 weeks, our Title VI update. Now that Jim's the chair, we have to adjust our Title VI assurances for that and the ADA stuff as well. Probably not much on the ADA, but I know we have to change the contact for the Board of Supervisors on the Title VI information. And that'll be really important if we want to get that federal grant. If we get chose for that bridge south of McIntyre, we'll need to make sure our Title VI stuff is in line. So just want to make you guys aware of that. So we'll try to get some of that stuff updated. Other than that, the guys are out scratching the gravel roads. I know they're kind of icy with the rain we got on some of that hard packs. They're trying to expose some gravel and everything else. So we've got some equipment down. We're getting that, trying to get fixed up. So we'll see what the next system brings for us. But right now they're just doing what they can to kind of give everybody some traction again. So looks like the salt shed's getting thin. So we'll probably have to be ordering some more salt in here soon. We haven't taken any delivery yet of our new shipment. So
Okay.
it'll be okay. I know that the sand, the sand has increased in price by a substantial amount because they ran out of man sand, so now they got to truck it. So we've seen a significant increase in sand, but we need that for traction.
You look at alternative places to get it from?
Yeah, I have, and it's not changing because we still either have to go get it ourselves or they got to truck it in and stockpile it for us. So
Boy, you had a big pile of man sand.
yeah, I don't know
A couple
if
years
it,
ago, but.
yeah, I don't know, yeah. But we exhaust that. They still have man sand, but they got to get it from Northwood, so they got to truck it. Or we go get it, and it's not going to be cost effective for us to get it with our smaller load counts. So right now, that's where we're at.
Okay.
I don't think I have anything else for you this morning. Just getting back in the office. I'm sure there are things that will come up, but for now, our biggest thing right now is trying to get you guys that payroll because it's just a nightmare.
Any questions for the engineer?
Yeah, I have one, like Coderville where you put in new cement and then the one set of train tracks, there was, I guess they said there was blacktop. And I think you guys, would you put it back in there? So,
So that's the railroad right away.
yeah.
And there was a stretch of asphalt in there. We put millings back in.
Okay.
I don't know if it was even 16 inches where it wasn't
Yeah,
very
it's
much.
not real wide, but it's.
And we left them a pile of millings to use to put back in there if it settled. So we left them a pile to use for their own purposes. But yeah, we took asphalt out and put concrete in as close as we could. So
Yeah,
they didn't.
oh, yeah, you can't go concrete up to
Mhm.
it. But it's potholes now because it's all worked out.
Okay. Well, we left them in a pile there and so they can
What is millings? Is that like reclaimed asphalt?
that's the reclaimed asphalt we took
Okay,
out of
that's-
we actually had a pile here. I think we delivered a whole, I don't remember how many tons we delivered. We delivered more than we needed to because we were gonna put that back in.
Okay.
Because I don't know if they're gonna try to, if they need to do something in the future with redoing any of the, they wanted to redo there was a question on redoing the tie system there, and the railroad told me I had to have it engineered. So we put the millings back in. It was the cheaper alternative.
Seemed like just like a year ago, they just put new.
They put a chunk of asphalt. They put a piece of
They put
asphalt.
new ties and stuff.
Yeah, right, but they did asphalt right up to, I think, as close as they could to the rail. In order for us to get the concrete work, we had to take all that out.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So
That's totally-
we left them a pile of millings, and
Okay.
as far as potholes go, that's in their right of way.
Yeah.
We had to get a permit to work within the right of way of the railroad, so maintenance technically is their issue.
All right. It's just, they just brought it up to me and I looked at it. Yeah.
I've been over there for a while to see how bad it is, but I'm sure it settled a little bit.
Yeah.
I think through most of the harvest, it held up pretty
Oh, yeah,
well. Must be getting a little freeze thaw action.
Freeze thaw action, I think, is doing it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, if you look at it, see.
Yeah, I can go
I don't know
up
where
there.
the mill, where the pile is either.
They have a little stockpile of rock and a little stockpile of millings.
Okay.
So they
I mean, it's hard to do anything now anyway.
kind of knew what it was for. I told them we'll leave you extra in case you have to have settlement and things like that, so.
Unless they
And
used it, I don't know.
Well, and it might be that it's gonna take, some heat.
Yeah.
If you put some in there, it's gonna take some heat to get that stuff bound back in. It's not gonna be like asphalt again, but it'll be helpful to put it back in.
I
I
don't
mean,
know what you could do now, not much.
not right now, no, in fact.
Anyway, I just thought I'd mention.
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Get that way looking.
Yeah. And they, they haven't called, but I guess I don't know.
Okay.
We left the material to fill in what it needed to be filled in.
Okay. Somebody let me know.
Okay.
On a brighter note, I went across the Stacyville Bridge this last week, and that's the first time I've been up there.
The new box culvert.
That's pretty nice.
Yeah, people have experimented with passing on that one already, I've been told. With the plow. We got passed with a plow.
Yeah. Must be a little wider.
Yeah, it's wider, but
It's wider,
still
but-
silly to
Dangerous,
try to
yeah.
pass a plow.
No, it's nice.
That's legal passing on a bridge.
Well, there's nothing to obstruct you there, so I guess you can, but I wouldn't have done it.
Any other questions for the engineer? I have one.
Yes, sir.
Walked River Road yesterday,
Uh-huh.
and if you drive the River Road at 30 miles an hour, it's a nice hard surface road. If you walk it, it's got a good base because that's what's holding it together, but you can see that it's very old. I guess you don't have to have an answer now, but I'd like to know what the question is as far as to save it before it completely dies. And if you maybe get some dollar amount
Yep.
put together, you might have some other local roads that
Yeah.
you need to think about.
The one thing I'm curious about on the River Road in general too is, I remember when it flooded a few years back, I was watching water come from underneath.
Yeah.
There was a lot of hydraulic pressure and it was pushing water up underneath, and I think it actually, is it down by the springs there, I think.
Well, Iron Springs, and that's not really where my conversation is based on. Iron Springs, we had Pops come in and they tiled that whole along the bluff.
Mhm.
They tiled it and drained it all to the river. So that is draining. But I was up on the areas I'm actually talking about are the open areas.
Yep.
I mean, you can see that the
Yeah,
surface is.
we're oxidizing pretty heavy.
It's not good.
Yep, it's oxidizing. So, yeah,
Just some thoughts to think
Yep.
about.
it would be nice. I mean, it's a local road and it's nice for the area. It's a nice scenic route. Whether it's a shortcut or not, a lot of people use it for motorcycles, bikes, walking, everything else. It's a nice route. There are some spots where Yeah, on the high sides, it's oxidizing even, but even down in the valleys where the river is, that's a lot of limestone down there and it's pretty hard stuff, but it's not holding together well anymore.
So we're either gonna have to fix it or we'll have to grind it up and turn it back into a gravel road.
Yeah, and I don't think anybody
would
wants
be
that.
very popular.
No, it's a nice scenic route there. So.
I see Minnesota does a lot of that seal and chip or whatever. Is that-
Chip seal?
Yeah.
Yeah, that,
Is that a good option for something like that?
it might save, it'll add you 5 years, but it doesn't give you any structure. So, you know, we put an inch of asphalt down for the cost of an inch of asphalt versus the seal coat. You get an inch of structure of material, you get a bit more life out of it. But yeah, there's Minnesota will pave an asphalt road and then 3 years later chip seal it even if it doesn't need it. So that's a sealant. So they're doing some different methods than we do around here. But
Anyway, I want to.
yeah, I can.
Topic.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks.
Anything else? Okay.
Welcome, Sydney.
Thank you.
Public health board members. So we went through this for a while, and I have 4 candidates, 4 applications that have been submitted. One is Brenda Miller, another is Janet Borcherding, another is Sandy Hoffman, and the 4th one is Terry Tesh. Has the board received any others, or are there any other thoughts on any of that?
I haven't received nothing.
Okay. So those are the 4 candidates that we have available.
Make a motion to approve the 4 candidates for public health.
Pardon me, Mark.
Make a motion to approve the 4 candidates for public health.
Eric's made a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Mayor has seconded. Any further discussion?
Roll call, Jim,
Aye.
Sydney.
Aye.
Mike.
Aye.
Mark.
Aye.
Todd.
Aye. Okay. Welcome back.
Thank you for hanging in there. Thank you for popping out.
Items of note, meetings attended. I have nothing to report. Sydney?
I have nothing to report.
I had a public health meeting. That was meeting to, somebody's gonna lose 3 hours of PTO due to the snowstorm day, because they get paid anyway. So they approved it. Yes. They voted yes, I voted no, just because I didn't wanna make exceptions to the.
Okay.
So I'd have to, other employees, other places. I don't wanna follow the handbook if I can, So that's the only meeting I had.
I had nothing.
I have a comment. I didn't know if we had any comment.
Okay.
Something that just makes me think about this a little bit. There might be something a little bit more involved than just that. I've always wondered why on a snow day, it's a free day for the courthouse to be taken off. I don't get that. Because there's other departments that, and I know we're not all the same, but dispatcher and jailer at the jail, I'm sure they're working. Secretary of Roads is working. There's other people who have to work in the weather. And I don't really know why it's a free day off here because we need to evacuate the courthouse because I need to get home. This is gonna sound kind of harsh, but personally, anybody, I can't help it where people live. If they choose to live in Otrano or whatever, that was their choice to live in Otrano. I'm just picking a town. They should have planned for that when they decided they wanted to work in Osage. I'm not saying that they need to stay here. If you feel that you are in trouble because you need to get home, by all means, go home. But it's probably a PTO or a vacation day that you should be taking. I don't really see where it's a free day off.
I'll agree with that. Anybody else out on the Main Street, if they can't make it in, safety wise or otherwise, they'll either go home on their own and either use a vacation day or just not get paid.
I kind of wondered about how other places did this.
So
Todd, do you have any?
the only way we
interrupt you.
can-
Go ahead.
The way we can solve that is don't close the courthouse. If they can't come in because they don't want to or can't, then they'll have to use vacation day.
I have a question. What about when there's no travel advised? I'm just wondering, because of public health and the nurses, can you require them to go out when the law enforcement is saying no travel advised to see patients?
My daughter works in
But
the
then,
hospital.
I'm just asking, I don't know if there's any legality with that.
Well, I personally wouldn't want to require them to go.
No, not require,
but
I mean, some are gonna feel they have to even when it's unsafe, I guess would be my question. I do agree with what you're saying in general, yes, I don't think, other people don't just get to get off because of other stuff. But driving around is different than coming to your office, staying for 8 hours and going home.
So,
I'm not saying I promote that, I just
No.
wonder what the
Again,
issues are
we
with
got
that.
a breakdown, you know, who the decision maker is, right? It'd be, let's just take county thing out of it, just take that out. Say it's our office, not the county attorney's office necessarily, but our private firm. Could we hypothetically, I don't think we'd ever do this. I don't think anybody think we would, but hypothetically, we had an employee that said, I'm not coming to work today, the roads are bad. Could that employee be terminated? Probably. Would it be wise? I don't know. Just because you might be legally valid doesn't mean you won't have a bunch of headaches later on. So I always tell clients that. You might be legally right. That doesn't mean you're not going to catch a whole lot of hell on the backside one way or the other. So could we say you're fired, didn't come to work? Probably. Would we pay for it one way or the other in terms of getting sued, stuff like that? Maybe. Would we win? Yeah, I would think so. But would it be worth it? Maybe not. So yeah, you probably can legally terminate somebody if they don't come to work because the roads are bad. I don't know if it's wise. But bigger problem you might have also to think about. I realize I get all these scenarios going through my head, but this is, what I do. If what I would be interested to know is, let's say, again, let's not even deal with the government. Let's just deal with the private entity, just a private factory out there. Somebody said, I can't come to work. Boss said, you're fired, or you need to come to work or you're fired. The employee says, okay, fine, I'll come. The employee does, gets wrecked, and gets killed. Question I would have then is, gee, would that estate have a employer? I don't know. Probably a case I'd be willing to look into. I'm the attorney that was asked that question. I'd probably say, I don't know the answer, but I'm willing to spend a little time to look into it.
That's kind of what I was wondering, like,
Yeah.
what's the legal ramifications of that?
Well, like I said, I think, again, I think.
My experience where employees call in because of weather, the employers acknowledge it,
We didn't talk about terminating anybody.
Yeah, like
So,
God, where you worked.
No, and I
People
wasn't
call
trying
it
to
because
be
of weather, they-
presumptive,
Yeah.
but I'm talking about the legal aspects of it. Just kind of trying to tie it all in together.
As I said, that not requiring anybody to show up, but if they feel that they're unsafe, then they don't have to be here, but they just maybe take a vacation day.
And employees
And so-
do that now, but I will also say, if you're gonna close the courthouse, it's not fair to those employees not to pay them. It wasn't their choice not to come in, you closed it. I'm just saying it's not fair.
Well, and 9 times out of 10, if the courthouse is closed, we still have staff seeing patients. If they need to medically be seen, if they live in town here, or if they live in St. Ansgar, and the patient's in St. Ansgar, Statesville, whatever, if they can still get there, they're still gonna go see them, whether the courthouse is closed or not, unless they can, unless it's so bad that they can't.
Okay, so let's take this a little bit further then. So we just talked about this a little bit ago. We have an employee handbook that's a guide. It's a guide. You're an elected official, you're an elected official, you're an elected official, we're an elected official. You're an autonomous board. So if you think that you need the autonomous board, if you think you need to have your nurses go out and look at people, that's your call. I'm the chair now, and it's, again, guess the chair decides if he's gonna close this building or not. Maybe it's your call that, no, my office is gonna stay open because I think we can do our job. Same with you. Well, you don't close your office. That's one of my points. So why is it my job to close this building and give everybody a free day off? And then you're talking about you need to have your nurses still see people. That might be the autonomous board's decision, not mine. You know where I'm going with that? So, yeah.
Well, and I think the medical world and the police world is a whole lot different than closing the courthouse or some of the businesses. And sometimes it is that they have to go out and public health has to go out because these places have to operate as well. I worked quite a few years at the hospital and came the night shift. And they expected me to be there because nobody else wanted to do it. And then I would pack my bag and end up having to stay because they couldn't get in the next day or they couldn't come in for the 3 to 11 shift. So, I mean, it's a whole lot different in the medical world to keep the places going and take care of the sick, the emergencies, the deliveries. Anything that comes in is a whole lot different than closing a business building.
So if the courthouse gets closed and there's people in public health, are there people in public health that go home, but then there are still nurses that go out and see people?
Yeah, we close
Is
our
it
office.
split?
If Rachel calls the courthouse closed, our office is closed.
So then why are there still nurses going out to see people?
It depends. If nobody medically needs to be seen, they're not gonna go out. But if there is, let's say there's somebody with a daily dressing wound and we are able to get there, they're gonna go. They're not gonna leave them hanging just because the courthouse is closed.
So then it's one of those things that people are going home, they should be using vacation days and it's not a free day off. That's my point.
I'd say it's budgeted and it's up to the elected official or the boards if they want to pay them or not. I don't know.
Then you
That's
get,
correct.
That's
That's probably correct.
I don't know.
I mean, we always base it,
I'm just.
we base it off of what Rachel, when
What
she
Rachel-
calls it. I mean,
What
it's a
Rachel
good
said
base.
is, what Rachel just said is legally correct. Now, I have to admit, sometimes listening to these things, I come from a world, and I think maybe most of you do too, where none of this stuff was ever an issue, I mean, I practiced law for 26 years, and I don't know that I've ever had an issue at our office with people not coming to work. It was just assumed you're gonna go to work. I got a job, I gotta go to work. There are certain times you can't make it, and those are usually pretty far and few between. But when it happens, nobody takes advantage of it, so we didn't, it's like, oh, so-and-so can't make it today. Well, that's reasonable. There's 3 feet of snow on 218. I mean, that makes sense. Don't try it. Stay home. We never docked anybody's pay for that, but nobody ever tried to abuse anything either.
Well, do you feel any responsibility as the courthouse to close so that other people aren't trying to come to the
I think
courthouse
that's the reason.
when they're advising no travel?
That, I know our employees appreciate when it gets closed, when it's so bad, and we're all over the county. It's a hard call to make, and you feel bad about saying, oh, I don't think I can make it there to see these patients. But when the courthouse gets closed, then we know it's bad enough. We really shouldn't be out there driving to Riceville from Osage or, whatever. And like she said, if they're saying travel is not advised, I don't feel like we should be punished for that.
but then you can make the argument, secondary roads, how does a snowplow driver get to work?
Well, that's in the same vein as the medical or sheriff's
They gotta get
department.
there.
That is their job. And they were pulled off last week.
Correct, but then they're supposed to start again Friday morning. How do they get there Friday morning when the roads are closed?
That's a
So
good
sign up
point,
for.
but that's
I don't know.
trucks.
Okay, you're kind of saying if it closes, then people should use their vacation day.
If the county roads don't go out, then we get in trouble for not going out, and people yell that they're not doing their job, so they make sure they're there and they get their stuff done. There's always two sides to a story. No one's gonna win, or I don't think is gonna win on that portion. Versus whether public health is supposed to go out in danger and the people that everyone expect at the county roads to come in and make sure our roads are clean.
True, but when they close the courthouse, they get paid. Secondary roads don't get paid.
Well, they're still working, so they get paid.
But they should shut that down too, the secondary roads. They never do.
It's a topic of thought.
I wonder what other counties do, you know? I mean, we don't know. That's something we need to
On the
look
state
into.
though, since I've been here 4 years, we've closed 3 times. So we're
Yeah.
talking about
It doesn't
very
happen very
minimal things ever happening.
I can tell you from the factory part, the years I worked there, there was about 4 to 6 Riceville guys that when it was gonna be a storm, they either rode together, followed each other, left early. So I lived in Osage. I walked to work several times because I knew those guys were gonna be there. And it's, you just, but today is a little different, you know, and I think it's just a case by case what we gotta do about it. I mean, if it's, the secondary roads are, it's a call that we have an individual making. And he probably doesn't like making the call any more than the rest of us. So I just think if, you know, he makes a call, they have to go get to work. The guys are gonna try it. I know one went in the ditch here, in the storm and they got him out and continued on to work. And, so, I mean, I don't think we can just write it in stone what we're gonna do.
I just wanted to talk to
I have no meetings.
Todd. We're
Meetings.
still on
No.
meetings of no.
No.
Meetings.
Okay. Public comments. Yes.
I think handbooks are getting a bad name today. Every department needs their own expectations, what you want your employees to do, show up for work on time, there's different rules. And those handbooks are very important in regulating all of these departments. Sheriff's Department has his own rules, they're not the same as someone else's. So, you know, don't throw out the handbook because of the law, because the lawyers are gonna confound the language every time anyway. These are common sense rules that people need to live by in their work. Yours are different than yours and yours. We're all no different. Handbooks are good rules for employees and the employers to know what the expectations are.
Okay. Anything else? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Brian makes the motion. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Mayor seconds. All in favor? Say aye. All right. We're done.
Sure.
Adjourn.
Ask a question.
9.